back at it today. Yesterday was a bit of a thing, but we are back at it today. Coming to you live. We're ready to paint. Alrighty. This is micro painting number 8. We might do 2 of these today because we didn't do one yesterday. We shall see. I'm gonna share on Facebook real quick. Alrighty. Now we can jump on in. Okie doke. So we might end up doing 2 micro paintings today. I haven't quite decided yet. We didn't do one yesterday, and I really want to kind of keep up doing one a day because this is kind of a thing that I'm doing for my mental health. So we might end up doing 2 today. We shall see. The goal is definitely to do 1 and definitely to work on our latest spooky painting a little bit today because I really wanted to get those done within like the first week of October, and that just kind of hasn't happened. But that's okay, you know, stuff happens. If you want to contribute, feel free to drop comments, share the stream, whatever you want to do with that. You can follow me on Instagram at painting_on_wheels if you aren't doing that already. You can also check out my work on Etsy at Painting by Shelby Lynn. We are going to start off by grabbing some of our phthalo blue. Put the paint rag down. If you've been joining me on these streams, I feel like I have forgotten to put down my paint rag on my lap every single day. So if you have been joining us and if you plan to join us consistently, feel free to remind me to do that because it's been a bit of a challenge. So we're grabbing phthalo blue, our brilliant yellow, both from Artist's Loft. We're going to go ahead and grab some titanium white. That was a lot more titanium white than I intended. Also from Artist's Loft, we are going to grab some black from Artist's Loft. This is our giant bottle of black paint. We are trying to do very small amounts because we are doing a very small painting. So today's word is going to be light. I'm going to grab some gold. This is our old gold from Artist's Loft. Oop, that bottle is almost empty. I do have another bottle of that though, so it's all good. So today's word is going to be light. And in order to create light in our painting, we are going to start with darkness. So I'm going to be taking the black on one of my tiny brushes. This is my medium tiny brush. No discernible information aside from that about what it is. And I'm just going to alternate back and forth between using black and a little bit of blue because I don't want this to be totally dark. If you go outside at night, you know that the world is not completely black. If you look up at the sky, you've got some navies happening. If you live in an area with quite a bit of light pollution, you know that It's even more so like a navy blue color. If you go out into the forest, the woods, you know that as your eyes adjust, there is still some light coming from the sky that allows you to kind of see a muted version of various colors. So we don't want our canvas to be completely black, which is why we are incorporating little bits of that blue to help make sure that it's not. And really, you probably won't be able to see this looking through the camera at what I'm doing, but you can tell that it is more of like a very, 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 very dark black with streaks of navy in it. You can tell that it's not completely black if you know what you are looking for. We'll give the brush a little rinsey rinse. And we're going to mix up a little bit of black, quite a bit of black with a little bit of white. We want a very dark gray color. I really could have used even less white than I used. I'll incorporate a little bit of blue into it just to create kind of a homogeneous thing happening here. We're going to need more black. I am working on a paper palette today instead of in my wells, just because that's what I was feeling would work best today. You are welcome to use whatever paint supplies you have available to you. If that means that you are painting with the paints that they sell at Walmart, that's fine. I've done it before too. If you are painting with stuff from Artist's Loft, you are welcome to do that as well. I tell you what paints I'm using, that way if you want to follow along, you can pick colors that are similar. You can also, you know, get them if you want to. I'm definitely not sponsored, so it's not like you're helping me out if you end up going to Michael's and buying Artist Loft paint. Yeah, so if you want to paint along, I tell you what paints I'm using so that you can match if you want to, but it's definitely not expected that you use the exact same paints as me or anything like that. I have a lot of paints from Artist's Loft. I just like them. I'm not gonna lie. I really like the Artist's Loft paints. They're relatively thick. And they just work for me. If they don't work for you, that's okay though. So what I'm doing is I am using this very dark gray to kind of create a circle around my edges. I want my circle to kind of just fill the outermost space on our little square here. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of creating like a hole that we're looking through. I don't know, it kind of gives me very Silence of the Lambs type vibes doing it this way. But, you know, it's almost I was going to say it's almost Halloween. It's almost Halloween month. It's almost October. Silence of the Lambs is definitely a spooky-ish movie. Maybe it's a good thing that we're feeling some Silence of the Lambs type vibes. I am also kind of coordinating, answering some questions as we go about some upcoming plans, if you will. So if I am periodically checking in on my phone, that's what's going on, because I'm being asked about my allergies, which, if you know me and you know my condition at all, you know I have quite a few, which means that there are more questions about my allergies than there would be for most people. So I apologize if I am a teensy bit distracted today, but gotta make sure I'm not getting an allergic reaction from upcoming plans. So, alright, we've kind of got that done. It'll be kind of a lighter gray. I used quite a bit of paint there, so it's a little bit more textured. Hopefully that texture will stick around as we work towards our finish point. So what we're going to do now, because if we're looking at a hole in the ground, we want to create a slightly different colored dark gray. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to mix more dark blue into it. And it's kind of going to be a very, very dark blue gray color. So I landed on this idea of using the word light for today because of the idea that you don't know light unless you are in the darkness. We as humans know light a little bit more concretely than that. And so if we're in a room that's bright, we can say it's a light room, and we know that. So, oh, I just put my elbow directly into all that white paint down there. Fun stuff. So I'm going to create an inner circle down here, kind of following the same-ish line that we did before. So I kind of want it to be equidistant from the edges of the circle that we made previously. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this dark blue paint and going straight out from our inner circle towards our outer circle, we're just pulling that out. But as I was saying about the word choice for today, especially when you're talking about darkness and light in terms of mental health struggles, it is hard to know when you are in the darkness or when you are seeing light, when you are in it. And so it's important to me to kind of remember that it's all about putting things into perspective. It's all about making sure that you are recognizing the light when it happens and the dark when it happens. So as I'm doing this, I'm kind of just taking little bits more of our darker gray color to incorporate into our blue as we move more towards that darker sort of circle. But I'm just using very, very short strokes here as I'm working that outwards. But yes, if you are struggling with mental health, it can be very important to put your struggles and your good days, both good and bad, into the perspective of there can't be darkness without light. And with that, it's something that I am working hard on for myself. It's something that can be really helpful when it comes to battling mental health challenges. But it can also make a really big difference in terms of understanding your struggles, understanding your levels of struggles, and making sure that it doesn't feel like every single day is a struggle. Yesterday was a really dark day for me. That doesn't mean today has to be. I hope that makes sense. I don't know though. Hopefully it makes sense to you in whatever way you need it to make sense to you. If that makes sense. Wow. My brain is kind of a little bit all over the place today. That's okay though. So the next thing that we're going to end up doing with this is making our light. We have created the dark. You can't have darkness. You can't have light without darkness. You don't recognize, if I were to shine a flashlight out this window, just a standard normal flashlight, you wouldn't really see it. If I were to shine a flashlight out of my window at nighttime, you would see it. So you can't have darkness, you can't have light without darkness. And so the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to let it dry for a second because we've got quite a bit of paint happening there. So we're going to add the light. And so if this is a very Silence of the Lambs-y type photo, or painting rather, then what we want to do is we want to put that light in the middle circle way down there. I think while this is drying up a little bit, I'm going to grab some of my cadmium orange hue from Artist's Loft, because I think that creating almost like a fire down there would be really pretty. This painting is also going to be a little bit of a challenge because with light in darkness comes light gradients. So we just made this all dark. However, if we are putting a light at the bottom of this hole, then there would be light kind of radiating up the walls of the hole towards the upper area. Possibly even, you know, putting some light and shadows on whatever is at the top of this hole. It's all about understanding the light. So while this is kind of a mental health type painting that we're doing here, it's also kind of a study in light a little bit, which we'll see how it goes. Could be fun. So we will see. We will see. We are going to let this dry a little bit more. It is pretty wet, so we're just going to give it a minute. If you are here, tell me if you think we should do another micro paintings today. Where do you think we should do? Because we might end up doing two. I haven't completely decided yet. We'll see where we're at when we finish this one. Yeah, we'll see where we're at when we finish this one, but I'm giving you the option today to kind of help pick a word for the second one if we do a second one. So feel free to drop a word if you think it would be a good painting. Remember, we have been doing single words with these, so if you decide to try and contribute and drop a word down in there, make sure it's a single word, not like a sentence. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to respond to this message real quick, and then we should probably be dry enough to keep going. Alrighty. Allergy question responded to. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a little bit of our really dark gray, mix it in with a little bit of our gold. I think I grabbed too much gold for this mix. Maybe not. Yeah, that's not bad. So if we're doing this as like a fire, do I want to do it as a fire? If I were doing it as a fire, I would use this gray gold color to create logs. I'm kind of leaning more towards doing it as, no, let's do a fire, because we're looking from above. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some little lines here that we will then build on top of. And those are just going to kind of be the logs of our fire. So I'm basically just creating a little star of logs. Our fire is going to go on top of it, so don't stress too much. So then if you think about a fire, the hottest part of your fire is the lightest in color. So we're going to start with some white, and I am just going to kind of loop it in there towards the center of this quote-unquote fire. I will then grab some yellow, and we can start. I want this more around the edges of our white than on top of the white. I don't want to cover that white completely. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of putting it at the edge of the white and then kind of just doing a very, very small pull outwards. Really and truly, I'm kind of more just laying the brush more on the canvas. And then I'm just going to give my brush a little bit of a wipe off on my paper. I still want a little bit of that yellow happening on my brush right now. Because if you think about it, where you start getting that like real deep orange or red color, it's more so in like the sparks or in the coals. So I still want a little bit of my yellow on the brush, and I'm going to kind of just do the exact same thing. Cover up a little bit of the yellow and kind of just, I keep getting paint on my elbow over here. Kind of just drop my brush in there, creating a little bit more of a fiery effect. Oh my gosh, I just went to wipe off the orange paint on my elbow, and I put my hand directly in the white paint that I wiped off the same elbow earlier and got white paint all over my hand. We are struggling today, apparently. Okay, so now we'll take a little bit of our orange, and I'm going to mix a little bit of this orange with a little bit of our gold to create almost like a darker orangey hue, orangey gold hue, which is going to be our furthest out part. So with this, we kind of talked about how you kind of get this darkest color with sparks and with that furthest out portion. So I'm just going to very, very little bits on the outside of the fire here, and then I'm kind of just going to dot it in as sparks around our fire situation. Try not to be too organized with your sparks. Sparks are not organized. They do not go where you want them to. If you want to, I almost dipped my paintbrush in my tea. If you want to, you can have them kind of going more towards one side than the other. That's okay, that works. So then what we're going to do is we're going to come back into the walls that we made earlier. So I'm going to take a little bit of our orangey gold color and very little of our dark blue color, and we're going to mix until we get kind of a light hue thing happening. We might need to add a touch of white. We're going to try and avoid that as long as we can. I would rather add yellow than white at this point because the yellow is the more like closer prominent color in the fire. We have very, very little white happening in our fire there. So it is better for my mind to add a little bit of that yellow than the white. So I'm going to come in on the floor. Oh, that turned green. That makes sense. We added yellow and blue together. So we will add some white. And this is still a fairly greenish gray color right now. So I'm going to add some more orange. This is still quite green. Let's try adding some more gold. This just isn't working for me super well. Alright, let's scratch that plan. Let's grab some of our gray without the blue in it and some orange. This still might turn green. That really didn't turn green. We're good. So we're going to go into the floor around the fire and kind of just create some little strokes of this warm-ish color. We'll grab a little bit of yellow here. A very little bit that I'm just kind of vaguely mixing in. Add a little bit of that in there. And then we'll start working our way up the walls. But first I need to okay, that wasn't a question for me. It was regarding allergies, but not mine. That's nice. So now we're going to kind of do the same thing working up the walls. So I'm going to move some of my yellow over so that I have a little bit of a quicker access to it. Then I'm kind of just going to streak up the walls here very lightly. Again, moving in that same kind of direction of the inner circle towards the outer circle. We want more light towards the bottom, less light towards the top, because that's how light works. You have more brightness closer to the source of the brightness. So I have quite a bit of paint on my brush right now here, and I'm kind of just making sure that when it comes to that more yellow color, I'm putting it more towards the base, which is basically just a twist of the brush for me, because I have the yellow more focused and concentrated on one side than the other. But this color that we mixed up with the gray and the orange and our little bit of yellow is a very, very warm color, which really kind of works well. We don't want any like super, super obvious strokes of yellow, maybe a little bit at the very bottom. But especially as we move more towards the top, we really don't. We wanted to kind of just have this warm hue to it. There's nothing in there casting shadows either. If you wanted to add a person in there to kind of cast a shadow onto your wall, you could do that. But we'll just kind of put that in, brush it out. And the reason we laid down that very cool blue on the base of our walls is because we want to make sure, oh, that was quite yellow. Let's grab some of our darker color. So by using that cool blue on the walls, we're creating a lot of contrast here and a lot of interesting temperature changes, if you will, because orange, yellow, those are warm colors. Orange and yellow are warm colors, and our blue is a cool color, which means that it's on the opposite side of the color spectrum, which means that it's going to create a little bit more of a natural contrasty situation. I don't even know if I'm using the right words here, y'all. I have not studied painting. I do this because I enjoy it. Hopefully this is making some semblance of sense. But it allows for a little bit of a contrasty situation to happen of warm to cool. Because all of our dark wall stuff is very cool. Our fire is very warm. And so by having our walls just be a tint of blue when we started them, it's allowing us a little bit more freedom to work our warm and cool colors. We also don't have to touch the cool colors right now. It's kind of just creating a natural, like, shadowy effect where the light is hitting less. So I'm just continually taking a little bit of yellow, a little bit of our darker color, just kind of working them together until I'm happy with what I'm seeing. I'm not covering the entire wall with this. I'm avoiding going into our little flyaway ashy dots and just kind of creating a circle of light happening in there. And honestly, based on how this looks right now, it could entirely, absolutely be not a hole in the floor of a serial killer's house at all. So I'm going to take a little bit of our blue, mix it with a little bit of our warmer color, and kind of just brush out from the edges where we were before. We had created the edge of this like hole situation. My brain is pretty morbid today. So I'm kind of just creating a little bit of a blend by doing this. I don't have much of either color on my brush, but I kind of want to just create a transitional tone between our gray that's further out, where the light isn't hitting as much, and those walls, or whatever they are at this point. So I'll go back in with a little bit of our bluey gray color. Every time I say the word bluey, it makes my brain immediately go into the Bluey theme song. Heck, if I hear a couple of notes that are close enough to the Bluey theme song, my brain just automatically goes there. Alright, I really like that. I'm going to bring you over to check it out. There you go, there is our light. This very much so to me looks like viewing a campfire from above, which is what we were going for. Even when we were doing it as like walls, we were doing it as like walls with a campfire at the bottom. So mission accomplished. Great job. My brush rolled straight into my yellow paint. We are doing a great job today, guys. Giving a little rinse to the brush. I'm going to take some yellow and some white to do our writing for what this painting is. I'm not going to mix them all the way because there's something about having the words on this be not fully mixed that I kind of like the idea of. But we'll just come in here into the bottom left. Remember, the more paint you have on your brush, the easier it can be to make those teeny tiny strokes. Light. There we go. We'll go ahead and pull it off. I'm not super stressed about it staying on here while it dries today, especially if we're going to do another one. Which, if you are on here, let me know what you think. Should we do a second mini painting, or should we go ahead and jump over to working on our spooky paintings? We've got a decent chunk of time today to do painting. See, Bluey. It just exists in my brain. We are going to move things a little bit around over here, and I'm going to take a quick picture of this to share while we take a second and then reset. Alrighty, that is now shared to Instagram. If you are not following me on Instagram, you should absolutely be doing that. You can find me at painting_on_wheels, which you can see right here. You may not be able to see it super well, but you can see it, hopefully. My phone is being very slow right now. I apologize. Hopefully my internet isn't being that slow. Alrighty, I am leaning towards doing a second micro painting today. So we're going to grab another of our little bitty squares. And to be honest, guys, I just cut these itty bitty squares from I think it was a drawing notebook. I cut strips and I cut squares. So we did not do a micro painting yesterday, which is why we are doing another one today. Because these kind of micro paintings are all about just letting it happen, to be honest. Kind of just letting go of the kind of semblance of control that comes with trying to do a set painting and just doing the thing. I do not have a word for this painting yet, so if you have a word, please comment it, because otherwise we're just gonna probably pick something from my current surroundings. I seriously keep ending up with paint on me from the weirdest ways. Like, usually I get paint on myself from the brush or from my brush, from leaning against the canvas or whatever I'm doing, that kind of thing. I don't usually get paint on myself from my paint rag. It's kind of a weird thing. Alright, so what do we want the word to be? I don't know. If you have a thought, if you have an idea of what word to paint next, please share, because right now, I don't. I'm going to go ahead and share our micro painting with a friend or two. Alright, I am leaning towards doing the opposite, doing darkness for this painting. I'm not totally in love with that word choice idea for this, but it's kind of the best one that I have at the moment. So, unless someone has something better. All right. No, I don't want to do darkness because I don't have any ideas for how to do darkness. Let's do... Let's go to a random word generator. Let's do pain. Yeah, let's do pain. If you know me and have talked to me, you might know that I deal with a lot of chronic pain. So let's do pain. So we're going to grab some red. This is Craft Smart Holiday Red. And this is our paint that is running. If you look at how that red appears on here versus every other color, it is immediately kind of just spreading itself out. We're going to grab some deep magenta from Artist's Loft. So we've got some red, we've got some deep magenta. I want to use my metallic purple. And I think that's the only colors we're going to add to our palette for right now. That's a lot of metallic purple. It's fine. I'm going to take one of my bigger brushes. This is a 1-inch brush. It's one of the few brushes that I can actually tell you what it is. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue, a little bit of my metallic purple, and just kind of swoop-a-doop that in there. Swoopy-doopy-doopy. We'll grab a little bit more blue. Our blue has a touch of the gray in it from where we grabbed blue earlier. That's okay. A little bit more purple. I want to kind of focus that purple a little bit more towards the top of this. So we're going to kind of just ploop in some of that purple. Give my brush a little bit of a wipe off because it's got a decent amount of blue on there. And then kind of just, we went way off canvas there. Back and forth, working our way down, kind of incorporating, integrating that together. We'll grab a little bit more blue, kind of do the inverse from the bottom up. Alright, we got blue and purple happening. This kind of looks like a very nice twilight sky to me right now, which doesn't really work for our pain theme. This is going to be a little bit more of an abstract piece as opposed to kind of the light situation that we did. So I'm going to grab my red, and this is a very drippy red, so I'm going to kind of just hold it up here, and at the very top of my canvas kind of just put that in. I'm going to grab a little bit of my water to kind of drop in on top of it. And we're just going to keep adding singular drops to get this to run a little bit. Kind of liking the way that's running, we're going to do it again. And a little bit more red up there. There we go, that's lovely. Let the red run. We'll do it again. We'll do the same thing with our magenta. Our magenta is not quite as runny, So it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to get it to run the way we want to. But because we have one super runny paint and one not super runny paint, I want to kind of avoid using my spray bottle method, just because that spray bottle method is going to make things really run. So I'm kind of just assisting the magenta in coming down its own path a little bit, and then adding in some more water, because it was really trying to go into that red's path. Because I want it right beside the red. I'm okay with it kind of integrating with the red, but I also wanted to create its own runny path. So again, same thing with the magenta. You can also almost like incorporate a watery mixture up at the top, water down your paint at the top of that canvas, and then drip it. That is something I am learning right now. We'll do it one more time, maybe two more times actually, with the magenta. Oh, that one's still wanting to take the red path. Also, I have no idea, but Dory's like repetitive thing that she says of P40, 42 Wallaby Way Sherman. It's just repeating in my brain right now. So, I guess enjoy that. Yeah, we'll do one more magenta path over here on this side of that last red that we did. I can also help these out a little bit by pulling them down with my brush. I don't really love doing that just because it kind of detracts from the streakiness, but we have enough water kind of on the drip route that, especially with the red, it actually is working. Now what I want to do, and any fellow chronic pain people might kind of hate me for this, I want to let this dry, and then I want to put a smiley face over it. That's definitely what I want to do, because that's what it feels like living with chronic pain, is you're constantly trying to like force a smile for everyone else. And so it doesn't matter how much pain you're in, because it's kind of one of those things of just like forcing yourself to smile, and just, it's fine, even when it doesn't feel fine. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to let this dry a little bit, and then we're going to come back into it with a smiley face. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to move this. We're going to move that out of the way so that it can dry. And we're going to grab our little spooky painting friend here. And then when we're ready, when that other one is dry, we will swap back to that one and keep working on it. But in the meantime, we've got some stuff to do here. So what I want to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this leftover gray that we had from before. I'm going to lighten it with a little bit of white. Lighten it with a little bit of white. This is hanging out right next to the white on my paper palette here. So it's actually really working in my favor. Because because I can just kind of incorporate one, incorporate the other until I'm kind of happy with where it's sitting at. So we are going to make a kind of line of clouds at this kind of like harsh-ish line here, and it's just kind of be like a spooky line of clouds as you're just sitting right there, and hopefully it's going to work for us. So I have this very middle light gray. I'm going to put some dots along here, kind of just dotting in the paint, and then we're going to go in with the finger. Get the finger a little bit wet and just kind of start drawing circles in here. Do you see how quickly and easily that just made like a line of clouds? It's pretty great. I'll touch my finger to a little bit more white just to kind of create some texture here in the clouds. Wipe off the finger as needed. This is the first time y'all are seeing me finger paint here. So we'll kind of just go back and forth between the lighter gray color, the darker gray color. We want it to be kind of lighter towards the top because that's where our moon is. That was a lot of white paint on the finger. So we want it to be a little bit lighter towards the top because that's where the moon is hitting it. A little bit darker towards the bottom. And just keep your finger wet. If you need to use another finger to kind of smooth an edge or something, you can do that. We are finger painting right now, guys. How very professional of us. I think it's funny. If you're noticing that your finger has too much of one color on it, wipe it off. It's okay. Just keep working these until you're happy with them. This is my favorite way to paint clouds and fog and anything of that kind of sort of variation because like we don't control the clouds, we don't control the fog. Why would we try to in a painting? So by just doing little swirls and just kind of working it like that, I find that it works so well and allows my brain to kind of just like take a break from trying to control what we're doing with the painting. Just trying to make sure there's no super harsh lines, there's bright towards the top. Beyond that, nothing else. I'm actually really happy with this so far. I'm really liking this cloud situation. There's a lot of white right in that section, so we'll come in with a little bit more of our dark color. Go in with a wet finger to smooth things out. I really like that. I'm very, very happy with those clouds. Cool. Now, awesome. That was so easy. So much easier than I thought it'd be. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. Cool. So now, I want to start on what's happening in the bottom portion of this painting because we're going to have quite a bit going on. So I'm gonna need some more black on our palettes because we pretty much mixed all of our old black. So grabbing some more black from Artist's Loft. We might end up needing some more gold too. We're gonna grab our remaining gold, kind of mix it with the black until we're happy with the brownish color that we've got. Now, we are going to put in some buildings on this side of the painting because this side down here towards the bottom is more light. We kind of talked about light pollution earlier in terms of creating light and darkness and all that jazz, and how things aren't always truly ever dark. So we are going to imagine that this side of the painting is lighter over here because of light pollution. So we are going to take our medium-sized brush. Yes, this is definitely our medium-sized brush. And we are going to paint in some boxy situations on this corner of the painting. You can give them roofs if you want to. This one's gonna have a roof for sure. You can make them as close together as far apart as you want them to be, as tall, as short as you want them to be. I think it's funny that I called these boxy situations. They're houses. Houses are now boxy situations. You can give them chimneys if you want to. We'll come back in a little bit once they dry up a tad to add windows or whatever else we want to add in there. These aren't going to have doors because it doesn't make sense to have a door unless it has a window because we're looking kind of silhouette-y at it. So it doesn't really make sense for them to have a visible door from what we can see. I'll do another kind of long and low house. Maybe it has a second floor on part of it. Don't overthink it, or try not to. I know I certainly overthink things all the time, but you don't have to overthink it. You should see me try to build a house in Sims if you think I overthink things when I'm painting. Jeez. And just a couple nice little houses. You can bring them down more if you want to. You can put them further up if you want to. I have those three kind of just hanging out on the horizon. If this is a little village, maybe you want some more down lower. I'll put one down here a little bit. I started with the roof on that one, which was kind of a weird choice. Just a couple little houses. And then we're going to grab some of our sap green color. Also from Artist's Loft. The only paint we've used today not from Artist's Loft was our holiday red color. And that's because I don't currently have any reds from Artist's Loft. Otherwise I would definitely be using them. So we're just going to gather up some of our gray colors from before. And we're going to mix them in with the green. Just kind of using what we already have. I don't really want to use black for this part because black doesn't really make sense to add to trees when you can avoid it. Like even if you're trying to darken your green, it usually works better to just add in some like other colors, like make it gray, add in some gray, that kind of thing, than add in black. Just because the black tends to be a little bit, it's either overbearing or underbearing, and it's really hard to get a middle ground with it. So we're gonna add in some trees. Remember, the further away something is, the smaller it is. So I'm just gonna kind of add in, starting at my horizon line, adding in some kind of short trees. These are kind of just like pine, evergreen, Christmassy type trees. Nothing too fancy. Again, we are kind of doing a silhouette situation with these, so don't overthink it too much. Just plop yourself in a couple of little happy trees. I have to really kind of force myself to not put trees evenly spaced when I'm painting, because that's what my brain tends to want, is very, very, very evenly spaced trees. But that's not how they really occur in nature. If you're doing evergreen type trees, Christmassy type trees, while you're doing this, make sure that when you're doing your kind of leaf situation, you're going down at a diagonal, pulling your brush down at a diagonal, because that's the way that those leaves tend to go. They don't go up. They get further out the further down you get. Think about the size of your houses and how you want your trees to compare. It's okay if you want your trees to be like as big, if not bigger, than your houses. That's fine. Just think about it. Make a decision. We'll come back into the other side, mix in a little bit more of our green to make it a little bit lighter because things are getting closer now. So the reason I'm switching down to the other end again is because that paint is more dry, which means it's thicker, which means we can paint over it a little bit easier. So I mixed in just a little bit more green into our green, gray, dark situation. And I'll just make some more trees. Trees that are seeming to get closer to us. I'm just painting a straight line and then on each side of the line going down at diagonals. You can put in as few or as many trees as you want. There are no limits or restrictions. We're just kind of making a foresty situation. And because we have a line of clouds, we don't have to worry too much about where our light is, because really we're not getting a whole lot of light coming through those clouds. And that's not why we added the clouds, that line of clouds in. It's just a nice little benefit to have. I'm keeping kind of a fairly fresh mix of about the same tone of light and dark. It's just not fully mixed all the way. That way I'm getting a little bit more detailing in these trees. I'm a big fan of using just like a basic marbled blend of paint to create some texture in a painting. Alright, we've got 2 rows of trees. We'll mix a little bit of a lighter color, come back in for a third. This will probably be our last one. I'm going to start taking these trees off the canvas. This paint is even lighter, but only by a little bit. As your trees get closer, they get wider and they get taller. So your tree tops can stay fairly close together. You want to make sure that the ones in front are coming down a little bit further. They're getting a little bit wider. They're just generally a little bit bigger, a little bit lighter in color. Our goal here is not to cover all of the like grassy area that exists. Our goal is to just make some trees. Make trees until you're happy with them. If you have a lot of brush on your paint, it'll help add some texture here, which is nice because that'll create a semblance of trees kind of being on top of each other. Again, we're not super focused on details. We're just making trees. All right, I'm pretty happy with those trees. Let me show you what we did. We've got a little bit of a foresty thing happening and it looks pretty nice. Now we might add a little bit more black to our gold situation, our gold brown situation. We might add a little bit of a path coming down from the village. Yeah, that's a nice little path. It doesn't need to be super detailed. We'll go in with some goldish yellow color. Maybe a little bit of orange if you're feeling a little bit feisty, if you will. It's just a very light yellowy gold color that we're going for here. I'm going to go ahead and switch to my even smaller brush. Make sure that it's clean from whatever paint I last used. We're just going to put some little windows on our little houses. Wherever you want them, wherever somebody would be hanging out awake. I'm going to maybe put a circle window up in an attic. Not all the windows have to have light coming from them. Maybe somebody's already asleep in a room. Not all the houses have to have light coming from them. That's completely your choice. I think this one wants a little circle window kind of almost off the canvas. There we go. I'm really loving that. Yay! Yay. This makes me happy. Now, this is going to be one of the very few times where I am actually going to be using straight up black. So my whole thing with this painting, what I ended up landing on wanting to do was to make this be a Kiki's Delivery Service type painting. So we are going to paint in a little flying silhouette of a witch moving away from the town I did pull up a reference image for this one on my phone just because I don't trust myself to do Kiki well. If you need a reference image and you're painting along, grab the reference image. Nobody's going to get mad at you for using a reference image on something like this. It also doesn't have to be perfectly Kiki. It doesn't. It can just be a witch flying on a broomstick. But what we're going to start with is we are going to make a line, as straight of a line as you can. For me, that means bringing the painting down. I'm also going to flip it over so that I'm not putting my hand into wet paint of our trees. So what I want is I want Kiki's broomstick to be coming up in front of the moon. I'm not necessarily going to put all of Kiki and her broomstick in front of the broom, but I want just a little bit. Just a little bit. So right now, we are making, because I'm flipping it upside down, it's confusing my brain just a tad. But we want Kiki to be kind of flying up towards the moon from the town. Maybe not from straight down here in the town, but just the general direction of the town. So while this is right side up, I'm going to go ahead and put where I think I want the end of her broom to be. Just a little dot. And then flipping the painting over and making just as straight of a line as I can for Kiki's broomstick. That is more angled than I wanted it to be. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and start on Kiki before I start on the tail of the broom, just because I think I can fix the angledness of it. Because I think if I just bring her knees in, I'm just kind of referencing the silhouette. Painting in a semblance of a Kiki. Sorry, I'm not talking. I'm very focused on this. This is looking so much better than I thought it would. It makes me so happy. my gosh. All right, there's my little Kiki flying away from her town. I am kind of obsessed with that. I absolutely love that. I just put my paintbrush in my tea. Okay. I need to move this tea away from myself so that I don't drink more of it. We are going to go ahead and take a quick little break. When we come back, we will be jumping into finishing up our other painting because I am obsessed with this and it is like perfect. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick little pause so I can handle the paint tea that I just made. And we will be back in about 5 minutes. So I will see you then. Okie doke, we will go ahead and jump back in here. So, we are absolutely in love with this painting. Really and truly, I am. Like, this might be my favorite spooky painting so far. I love it. It's just, it makes my heart happy. It really does. So, we are going to keep going because we still have another painting to finish. But really quickly, I'm going to go back with this teeny tiny brush and just go back over her face a little bit. We've got a couple of spots where just a little bit of that moon is peeking through. Alright, I'm very, very, very happy with this painting. There's your closer look. Remember, this painting and the other ones in this Halloween Spooky Season series are not currently for sale. However, if you are interested in them, reach out to me, let me know, and we can figure out a commission for you. We can make that happen. But I am very, very, very pleased with this painting. It really might be my favorite of our spooky paintings so far. So, coming back, oops, we need to lower our thing down again. Coming back to our painting. Bring that back. It is still a little bit wet. It's not wet enough for me to be super worried about it. So this brush already has a lot of light colored on it. So we're going to go ahead and use that. We're going to use the same paint color that we used for our windows. It is a little bit runny. That's okay. I'm kind of wanting to lean into the runniness of this a little bit and might even let it drip some. So we're going to go ahead and just paint a couple of eyes, and I think I want to do circular eyes. I think I want to do like a smiley face. So we'll do an eye there. This spot is a little bit wetter than I'd like it to be. That's okay. I also don't want this to be perfect. Okay, pretty happy with that. Gonna add little bits more into the eyes to make them a little bit more solid. They're also slightly terrifying because the imperfection in the circles is just a little bit creepy. Now what I'm going to do, same thing we did before. Take dots of that water. Just kind of letting our eyes cry a little bit. I'm even going to come in with just some very watered down of that same yellow paint and just even, now that there's a path there, track down those tears even more. There is something absolutely hauntingly terrifying about this, and so accurate for the way that my chronic pain is generally experienced. I've told people before, I live at a level 7, a number 7 pain. All the time. 7 is my low. Yeah, there is something absolutely hauntingly horrifying about this that I kind of really love. I'm going to extend our smile a little bit more both directions. But yeah, I love that. Give our brush a good rinsey rinse. We'll go into the red for our letters on this one. I love that. I really do. All right. We took a very short break today, 5-minute break, and we have done 3 paintings today. So, great job, team. Great job. 3 paintings, 1 day. That's amazing. It's super awesome. We are going to go ahead and do our little bit of a bloop-a-doop-a-doop on our little paper down here. So this is the paper that we used as a canvas today. We've got some leftover paint happening on it. I'm feeling swirlies today for doing this. So I'm just going to swirl, swirl, rinse the brush as needed, swirl, swirl, kind of just covering it in whatever way. Grabbing water. Remember, these are just like abstract companion paintings to whatever I did. They can be fun. They can not be fun. But they're just to try and make sure we're not wasting an insane amount of paints and still creating something interesting with anything that's left over. Again, if you are interested, you can follow me on Instagram at painting_on_wheels. You can check out my Etsy shop at Painting by Shelby Lynn. If you are interested in a commission, you can reach out to me via social media, or if you know me personally, whatever method we usually communicate, and I will be happy to discuss that further with you. Our micro paintings are not something that are for sale, and neither are our spooky season paintings. So the only thing that we're making today that could potentially be sold is this companion painting to what we worked on today, which is just kind of a mess of colors. I'll give you a little peek here. It's really just a swirly mess, but that's okay. That's part of why I enjoy doing these, is because I spent all this time today creating something that felt right for the experience that I have, or for whatever I was trying to create, and then I get to just play with paint a little bit, and I enjoy that. So thank you for joining today. If you joined, if you are interested in a commission, please reach out to me via Instagram or via Etsy, or whatever method we usually communicate. And I am planning on streaming tomorrow. The plan is to do another micro painting and jump into one of our other spooky paintings. We've still got 2 more to go. So that's kind of the game plan, and that's kind of what we'll be working on for the next little bit in terms of streams. I hope to see you there tomorrow. I hope that you have a great rest of your Thursday, and I hope that today you're able to create something that is just uniquely you in whatever way that is, whatever that means. Until next time, I hope you have a great day. Be safe, be well, keep creating.